Hello, goddesses. Good evening. We're going to do my show, Marie's Letters, or Love Letters to Marie. You guys all know who I am. I feel like I don't need to introduce myself again. I think that might be a bit of overkill. But I'm going to introduce you to one of my best friends, Kathleen Nisbet. Yeah. Kathleen is a Métis woman from Saskatchewan who currently lives in Vancouver, and she's an incredible musician. Yeah. She has a band called Viper Central. You can look them up on Apple Music and Spotify and everything. And Kathleen has come what I feel is all over the world with me, which is all of Alberta and Saskatchewan. Like every nook and cranny of Alberta and Saskatchewan. We spent a lot of time in Smoky Lake together. And yeah, she makes me and all my work so much better, and I'm very grateful for her and that she came all the way to Ottawa with me. So this is Kathleen.
Thank you.
So when I was about 20, I'm from a long line of Maries, and I'm sure a bunch of you are too. So I look at my family tree, and it's just a bit repetitive. Like, it's like Marie, 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 and then there's a point where it changes. So, as a young woman, I'm still a young woman, but like a teenager, I got really curious about my ancestor, Marie Callahoo. So, for those of you who don't know, Marie Callahoo was the beginning of my Métis-ness. And as far as I'm concerned, she was the beginning of one of the beginnings of Métis identity in Alberta. She married a man called Louis Callahoo, who is also known as the Sun Traveler. He was a Mohawk voyageur who came to Alberta to essentially expand the economy of the fur trade to Alberta. And I'm an actor and a playwright and many more things now, but at the time I was just an actor, and I went through this phase where I got cast as Marie like 5 times in a row, and I was just like, what? What do you want? What do you want from me? So I started looking her up. And at the time, I was having a really hard time with men. And so I said to my auntie, Andrea Menard, I said, I don't know. She was like, well, you're feeling resent. And I was like, no, I want love. I was like, I want love stories. And she was like, well, where are you going to go to find them? And I was like, Marie, which was really irrational, and I don't know why I thought that. So then I spent a few years researching Marie Callahoo in the Alberta archives. And I found all these stories about her and the woman who came after her that lead to me. And essentially what I did is I created this big play called You Used to Call Me Marie. That play has changed my life. We just got back from a huge rural tour this summer. We are at Batoche Days, Métis Crossing. We went to the Manitoba border and played on a boar farm. Like, but it was the best thing ever. It was the best thing ever. We did the play everywhere. We did it in fields. We showed up with speakers and Kathleen's fiddle and horse puppet heads, and we'd do it. And then I wrote my thesis about it. But something I started doing along the way of creating this play is and that play is going to have a big life, which I'll talk about in this piece, but at some point, I don't know why, but I was like, I'm just trying to talk to Marie because I want a few answers. And so I started writing love letters to Marie 3 years ago. And so what this piece is it's actually a compiling of those letters and the things I wanted to say to Marie Callahoo. So that's what we're going to do. And yeah. Great. Show's about 50 minutes. Do what you need. If you need to pee, go. If you need water, get it. Take care of yourself. Okay, Brittany, I think we're good. Oh, wait. Sorry. We have videos that Heather Hatch created. She's a Haida filmmaker.
Ni pe mo te no rakia, Pimo te levignia, Kimi you to ten, Kimi you to ten.
September 5th, 2019. Dear Marie, my name is Ty Amy Grauman, and I am your great, great, great granddaughter. I'm pretty sure you know me, but just in case you don't, my name's Ty. I'm from your daughter, Isabel. She had my great grandmother. Her name was Lillian, but I know her as Millie. Then Millie had my grandmother, Delphine, who had my father, who had me. I'm 24 now, and today I'm home in the plains, sitting on my parents' farm, watching summer slowly turn into fall. It's crazy how time works, isn't it? I think about you often, Marie, and I've heard so many stories about you, and I've had a few people even tell me that I look like you, that I have your hair and your hazel eyes. And it's crazy to me that they still remember what you look like. You must have been so beautiful, because it's 200 years later and people still remember you. I want to know you, Marie, so I'm looking for you. I'm looking for any trace I can find of you in the Alberta archives, in books written about your husband and firstborn son, who are both very well documented men in Alberta history, but you're not there. The only mention I can find of you is that you may or may not have existed, and a lot of scholars aren't really sure what your name is. And this makes me really mad, because I know that you are the beginning of Métis in all of Alberta, not your husband or your son. You were the beginning. You married the Sun Traveler and had 7 Métis children. Your firstborn son was Michel Calahoo, who was a great Michif leader across the plains. And as far as I'm concerned, all of Treaty 6 and the Michif people in it are all connected to you. But Marie, I have started to find you. I can hear you in the sound of a horse's canter or the song of a fiddle being tuned. I can see you standing across the room from me when I'm the last one on the barn board dance floor at midnight. I can hear you when I walk across the plains with my horse into the same sunsets you would have seen. But most of all, I can imagine you when I sit down at my kitchen table every night to write. Marie, I've written a whole play for you. It's called You Used to Call Me Marie, and it's a love story that all starts with you. You're the most important character in the whole play, and I've tried to write your story with all the pieces of you that have been passed down to me. I didn't like that you didn't have a written history, so I decided to change that. I've written 8 love stories that start with you and end with me. You're in every story. As we watch Michif women lay down their hearts for their children, their people, and their land throughout the history of Alberta. I know that you gave your whole heart to your people, your nation, and your land. And I know that you selflessly gave your people and your family everything you had and more. So the stories came to me in a love story. Of course, it's about you and the Sun Traveler, but it's also about you and your love for dance, music, horses, your children, and your land. The whole play is about your love for Michif peoples of Alberta and how that love became our survival and continues to radiate from our family. Marie, one day, I hope that I can give my whole heart to my people the way you did. You are astounding, and you are everything that I hope to be. I've been told that throughout your life, you were worried that you and your children wouldn't make it. And I know that during your lifetime, the attack on Michif peoples had you wondering if you would ever have grandchildren. So I'm writing this letter today to tell you that you have great, great, great grandchildren, that we are alive, and that we have your hair and your hazel eyes. We know that you had 3 different names: Marie Patenaude, Marie Laséganès, and Marie Calahoo. We know that your sister's name was Josette, and we know that you raised your son to be a great Michif leader in Alberta. We know that your husband was a voyageur, and you were often alone with your children fighting the fur trade wars. We know that you loved horses and that you loved to jig. Most of all, we know that you loved your people with your whole Michif heart, and that love lives in all of us. I am incredibly proud to be your great, great, great granddaughter, and I will always carry your spirit with me. Kishagitin, Tai Amy Grauman. September 5th, 2021. Dear Marie, it's been a while since I wrote you on this exact day 2 years ago. So much has changed, but you already know that, don't you? Just like 2 years ago, I still think about you every single day. It's crazy how time works, isn't it? I'm 26 now, and I'm sitting by the North Saskatchewan River watching summer slowly turn into fall. I lived here now, I moved home. I made the decision to move home without a single rhyme or reason. But it wasn't without rhyme or reason, was it? It was you. It was you telling me to move home. The day I left Vancouver, I loaded my friend's truck at the very beginning of the pandemic all by myself, and I drove myself home. At the time, I was having my first real pregnancy scare, driving all alone on the highway, all by myself. He asked me to marry him right before I drove away, and I just looked at him and I said, "You're joking, right?" And even though everything felt completely out of control, I knew I had to go, and God, am I ever glad I did. Coming back to this place was without a doubt the best decision I ever made. I've had a lot of time to sit here by the river and think, Marie, because right after I moved home, the world stopped and I lost everything and gained a home. You see, Marie, I moved back to rebuild my home, and that's exactly what I've done. I used to think that all that mattered was my career, but I was horribly, horribly wrong. Moving home has taught me that the most important thing in my life is love. And right now, I feel more love in my life than I have in an awfully long time. It's the kind of love that's never going to go away. And I'm trying to love like you, Marie, without expectation and with wild abandon. It's hard, and sometimes I think it would be easier to go hard again because being home has made me walk through the world with a wide open heart. But by walking like this, I've made so many incredible things happen. Shortly after moving home, I called the University of Alberta and told them they need to let me start my master's in the fall. It was absolutely bonkers. And I did it, and now I'm starting my second year of my master's. My work is on Métis women's love stories. And I'm listening to your voice in the wind on campus every day. And every single day, I'm learning the woman we once were, and by consequence, I'm learning who I want to be. I am being led by incredible Métis women, and their love and resilience makes me feel absolutely invincible. These women make me feel like I'm no longer looking for you, but that you have always been with me, guiding me from the other side of the veil. So instead of looking for you, now I'm just listening to you. Even though I spend all day writing love stories, boys are still infinitely complicated, Marie. Since I last wrote you, there have been many Cree boys. But now I see their pain, and I see what the patriarchy has done to them, and I see what it has taken away. Even though I didn't know it for a long time, the patriarchy has effectively broken my heart every single day of my life because it has taken our men away. It has wounded our men. And I desperately want them back. 4 years of writing love stories, and I finally figured out that I'm asking for my love back. I'm asking for our men to heal, to quit being lost, and to let go of the patriarchy and come back because I am tired of our men falling behind. Marie, this voice calling to our men is loud. It resonates with every heartbeat, and I can feel reverberations of our men all around me. This call has culminated in 3 plays that are all our Métis love stories. There was Used to Call Me Marie. Then I adapted Mary's Wedding, a Métis love story. And now I'm writing Oui Oui Ma. In about 2 hours, I will be on one of the biggest stages in Canada pretending to be you in Mary's Wedding, a Métis love story. And for 90 minutes, I'm gonna fall in love with one of the most beautiful Cree boys I have ever met. He is stunning in every single way. And in flickers of transcendent moments between us, I see who our men once were. His name is Charlie. Him and I met for the first time when we were 13, but I don't remember it. He does, though. I was an extra on the set of his dad's show, and he says that he remembers my eyes. Then we met when we were teenagers, but I was just some farm girl from Ardrossan, and he was a really cool improv boy, and I remember that, but he doesn't. We met at the Citadel in the Rice Theatre, and he was very kind to me, but I had no idea what to say to him. Then about 1.5 years ago, I called him and I asked him to move to Edmonton in order to be in my show with me, and he said, sure, I think I can make that happen. Him and his then fiance moved home just in time for rehearsals to start. And I knew he was going to break up with her, and he did. I cast him in my show because I thought there's no way I'm going to fall in love with him. After all this, every night when the lights go out, I become just me again. But each time I pretend to be you, Marie, I feel like I get pieces of your heart, and I'm able to make it my own. And I'm hoping that all of these magical moments under stage lights and all of these shows bring me closer to you so I can walk through this place that is our home with a pure heart full of love as you did. You are everything I want to be, Marie. I am here. I am alive. And I am incredibly proud to be your great, great, great granddaughter. Kishagitin, Tai Amy Grahman. September 20th, 2021. Dear Marie, tonight, Charlie finally told me that he is seeing someone who lives in Montreal. He kept that from me for an awfully long time. And over the past 48 hours, I have watched him decide that he is not going to choose me. The whole premise of Mary's Wedding is that Mary is living her love story with Charlie the night before she marries another guy. In real life, Charlie is dead and has been the whole show. Towards the end, she realizes he is dead and this is all a dream. And the show ends with Mary saying goodbye to Charlie one last time before she gets married. And every night, when Charlie is telling Mary about the life they never had and they never will have, he talks about babies and horses. And I see babies and horses. I see him standing under the same tree looking at me like I'm the only thing in the world that exists. In this daydream that flickers in front of me while 200 people are staring at us, he is always wearing a white shirt. His hair is always the length of his shoulder, and he is holding a daughter that looks like a perfect combination of him and I. The wind is blowing and the sun is shining right past his left shoulder. His dark brown eyes are locked on me, and even though the wind is blowing his hair into his vision, I see stardust. The image is so vivid. I'm not totally sure whether it's a dream or a memory. And every night, for just one moment, I think of the life we could have spent together, or the life we did have in a past life, and I get a glimpse of the love I'm capable of. Time and space bends, and I forget where I am. And then I hear him call me, and I'm pulled back into reality again, even though I desperately want to stay in this dream. The audience claps. He places his hand on my lower back, calling me back to reality because he can see that I'm completely somewhere else. He gently says my name and takes my hand for the curtain call. He interlocks his fingers in mine and looks at me with a smile that says, "It's okay. I'm not dead. I'm right here." I think about when we met when we were 13 years old and 16. About 2 days ago, when we were walking around under the stars like we do every night, I looked at him and said, "Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe Charlie doesn't exist." He took my hand, looked me dead in the eyes, and said, "Marys do exist." I wish he was going to pick me, but I have a feeling that I'm just a bit too familiar, and he is choosing to remain just another lost Cree boy. I hope that I'm never this heartbroken ever again in my life. September 22nd, 2021. Dear Marie, it is the closing of Mary's wedding. After the show, an usher brought a note to my dressing room. It was from my guitar teacher who taught me from about 7 to 16 years old. I remember telling her I wanted to be an actress for the first time when I was about 10. The note said, "Hey Ty, you made it. Love, Corey." The next day I phoned her as soon as I walked up, and she said to me, "You did it. You made it. You are exactly where you wanted to be." From your great-great-great-granddaughter, the heartbroken actress, Ty Amy Grauman. July 30th, 2021. Dear Marie, today was the best day of my life. It is 5 a.m., and I'm walking around the town of Smoky Lake because I can't sleep. Last night, myself and my team did my show, Used to Call Me Marie, at Métis Crossing. It was absolutely bonkers and completely and totally a dream come true. You know those days that are too good to be true? Like it isn't possible at all that it could be a memory and it must be a dream. Yesterday was one of those days. We've been on the road with the show for 3 weeks. First, we built it at Caravan Farm Theatre in Armstrong, BC. Then we took a version of the show to the Citadel, then St. Paul, and then Métis Crossing. Leading up to Métis Crossing, I had a feeling something magical might happen. It seemed like everyone in the world I wanted to see my show was coming. And that was exactly what happened. Leading up to this day, I asked so many people to take a chance on me, and they did. I phoned Métis Crossing about 3 months ago, and I asked them if I could bring my show there. And they asked me what the show would look like. I lied through my teeth, because to be honest, at that point, I had no idea what the show would look like. I said it was a love story, and I guess I was sort of right. It was terrifying in the best way possible. I showed up for sound check at 2 p.m., and Krista Letty told me that Christy Belcourt was coming, and I almost barfed. At the dinner before the show, I turned to Cindy Gaudette, my auntie, and I said, "I'm so nervous, I think I might die." And she said to me, "The only person who matters here is your grandma." After that, I went into the storage room, I pulled myself together, and then somehow ended up on stage. And somehow everything that was supposed to happen happened. I could smell sweetgrass in the wind. The sun hit me just right. I could feel the river watching me, and everyone I needed to be there was there. About 10 times throughout the show, I thought to myself, I am exactly where I've always wanted to be. Kevin Loring, the NAC of the artistic director of the NAC, flew in from Ottawa to see the show, and he said to me, "You're going to be chasing this feeling for the rest of your life, aren't you?" I don't know if anything will ever beat tonight until my wedding. I am so loved. When I am an old lady, I will sit in my chair, I will look at this river, and I will think about tonight. I am not the heartbroken actress anymore. Ty Amy. December 1st, 2021. Dear Marie, I'm sitting beside the North Saskatchewan River. It's cold and I can feel the wind in the air. It's supposed to snow in the next couple days and I'm dreading it. I've had the best summer of my life. And for some reason, the encroaching snow makes it feel like it might have all been a beautiful dream. But that's crazy because it wasn't. It was real. It happened, and I hope you were there to see it. Marie, I pretended to be you all summer long, and it was wonderful. This summer, I loved harder than I've ever loved before. My heart cracked through your love stories. It cracked 1,000,000 times and mended itself to be bolder, wiser, and now my heartbeat feels unstoppable. Marie, there were even moments where I felt like I was no longer trying to be you, but I had become you. The generations between us collapsed, and you were standing right beside me, behind me. Marie, I don't even have words. And for the longest time, I thought the greatest love stories were with men, but they're not. You are my greatest love story, and I feel you everywhere. You are my wildest dream, and I know that I am yours. I prayed along the North Saskatchewan River. I danced, I loved, and I actually felt the wind for a first time in a long time. I brought you back to the river. I brought you home. Marie, I'm writing to you today to tell you that I'm sorry. I'm sorry you were left behind. This year, I've been learning a lot about this place that is our home, and you're missing from every single story. But I know you were here. I don't care if your name is nowhere in these documents, and I don't care if you aren't in a single book about Alberta, because I know you were here. I'm sorry that you fell through the cracks of this place's story, and I'm writing to you today to tell you that I'm committed to breathing life back to your place on this land. I will not stop talking about the Michif woman who ran our road allowance communities when there was no place for them in reserves or on settlements. I won't stop telling people the ways in which the script system displaced Michif women from their rightful territories. I won't stop telling the stories of Michif women who were forced to marry white men so they didn't starve to death. I won't stop protesting the ways Michif women have been written out of the story of Alberta. I will never stop. And one day, I will have a daughter, and I will name her Marie. You are everything I want to be, Marie. I am here. I am alive. And I am incredibly proud to be your great, great, great granddaughter. Despite all odds, I know this is my place, and I know that this river is ours. Kishagitin. Oh, we're not done. I could feel that. I knew that was gonna happen. June 19th, 2022. Dear Marie, in 2 days, I'm getting on a plane to Vancouver, and my team and I are starting rehearsals for You Used to Call Me Marie. I can't believe this is actually happening. I'm only 26, and most people wait their whole lives for a tour of their work like this. We're going all over the prairies, and I have a funny feeling this summer might change my life. I just finished a tour of a show with Charlie, and we hate each other. I guess love is really close to hate, and we couldn't love each other anymore. Today was one of my best friend's weddings. I was in the bridal party. Brooke and Neil have been together since we were 15, and I've cried about 5 times today. The bridal party is all of the girls we grew up with, and I'm the only one who's single, but I have had the most adventures by far. Right now, Brooke is sitting in a chair that's being held in the air by a bunch of our Drawson boys dancing to Rasputin. I've been drunk 3 times today, so I'm standing on the deck writing this letter to you on my phone. Today made me believe in love stories again. Today I witnessed real love, the kind you read about in books. So maybe these love stories aren't complete and total crap. There's guacamole, champagne, and mascara stains on my dress. But I'm gonna go back to the dance floor because this day will never happen again. And I can't believe this day is over because I would relive it many times. From your great, great, great granddaughter, The Mess, Ty Amy Grauman. July 23rd, 2022. Dear Marie, today we did You Used to Call Me Marie at Batoche Days, and it was one of the best days of my life. It started out as a complete shit show. It was one of the windiest days ever in the history of the world, and Batoche Days only gave us an hour to set up and do the show. For context, our show is an hour and 10 minutes long, so we had to get set up in 5 minutes when it usually takes us 2 hours. We built our own stage out of bleachers and a dance floor. So in that 5 minutes we took to set up, we also organized the audience. Just like 1 year ago at Métis Crossing, everyone who needed to be there was there. Then our first cue started and we did the show. The night before, I met some Indian relay racers on the dance floor, and I told them to bring their horses to the show. They thought I was completely bonkers. But just as our first cue was playing, they rode up on their horses. At first, the horses were pacing and completely distracting. Then, as soon as we picked up our horse puppet heads and Jeanette made a horse sound, they stopped pacing. They started watching the show. When Jeanette shook the horse's head, they would shake their heads. Whenever we made horse sounds, they would snort. And whenever I walked towards them to change my costume, they were looking at me. Stardust. That's the only way I know how to describe these moments. When I can tell that something bigger than myself is happening. When time bends and moments collapse. Stardust. Instead of this stardust, I could have sworn I saw the Métis ponies who died at the Battle of Batoche. I imagined that they were watching us, along with these horses, and that they were surrounded by the spirits of the wild Métis ponies. After the show, I got on one of the horses in my white dress, and I galloped away. I haven't ran that fast on a horse in years, and it was an Indian relay horse. And as they were watching us, along with the horses, we were surrounded by the spirits of the wild Métis ponies, and I could have sworn I could hear you in the wind. I won't ever forget today. I am so loved. Today is another day that I will remember when I sit by this river, when I am an old lady. August 20th, 2022. Dear Marie, it's me. I've been thinking about you every single day. I mean, I always think of you, but I've been thinking about you a lot more than usual. I'm 27 now. I turned 27 about a month ago. My hair is still long, and I still have your eyes. It's August 27th, and I'm sitting here by the North Saskatchewan River. It's the end of summer, and this place by the river feels exactly how it always feels this time of year. It's still hot, but summer is fading away and the leaves are getting ready to go, wherever they go when they crumple up and fall off the trees. Marie, where do leaves go when they die? Do they crumple up and become new leaves? I just came back from the most incredible summer of my life. This summer, I stopped daydreaming because my reality was much better than any daydream I could have come up with. But you know that, don't you? I spent the whole summer living inside of your love stories. We went everywhere. We went to Regina, Batoche Days, Smoky Lake, St. Paul, Bonnyville, Fishing Lake, Frog Lake, and then a handful of communities on the Manitoba border. We did the show in 30-degree heat in the dead of summer in the middle of nowhere for 2 months, and it was magical. Every day, we set up speakers in fields, we braided our hair, put on our dresses no matter how hot it was, and we danced around like Métis rock stars all summer long. At some point, it didn't even feel like we were doing a show. We became a caravan of Métis women acting out our stories. We were ourselves and all of our ancestors all at once, dancing in the sunset and under the stars, riding on the spirits of the wild Métis ponies in the river. Marie, I've spent my whole life on my territory, but this summer made me think that I took our place for granted before. Now, sitting here today, I'm certain that the prairies are the most beautiful place in the world, and I belong here, where we always have been. There were moments where I would stand by the river, and I would look over at my Métis sisters, and the whole world around me would change. In these moments, the stars didn't feel so far away. The river sang with the wind, and love exploded at the seams of the moment. Time would stand still, and I felt for just a brief moment that the veil between you and I lifted. With these Métis women and their love as a portal, you felt closer to me than you've ever been. In those moments, I wanted to say to you, Kishagitin, I love you. I remember you. I am here. I have your eyes. I am here. I've been writing what I've been calling Métis love stories for 6 years now. And I always thought these love stories were about men. Marie, I'm sure you've noticed that there's an epidemic of lost Métis men. They're so bound to the patriarchy that they hardly recognize us anymore. Most of them consume Métis women's hearts and take selfishly with no regard for their people. And I can honestly say, on this day, by the North Saskatchewan River, that I want to believe in those men. and I want to see more of them manifest in front of me. I still love our men, but a lot of them have broken my heart multiple times. The last man I loved was Italian, and he was very, very good to me. But he doesn't want kids, and I'm already dreaming about daughters every day. He isn't it. And in fact, he said to me the other day, I'm not it. So for the longest time, I thought I was writing love stories about men, but I was wrong. This summer, I realized that the real Métis love story is actually with the Métis woman in my life. I toured with 3 Métis sisters who changed my life. There were moments where we drove each other crazy. We fought, we laughed, we cried, but most of all, we loved each other. We went to a John Fogerty concert dressed fully in cheetah print. We closed down the dance floor at Batoche every night. We had dinner and talked about the things in this world that bothered us most. We went to rodeos and powwows, and we laughed a lot. God, did we ever laugh. We even got drunk with a massive herd of wild boars and set off fireworks. And I learned that the love I've been writing has actually been about the Métis women around me. These stories were never in fact about men. Not for 1 second. Kishagitin. We are timeless. If I were to die suddenly today, these women would be in the moments that I'd look back on. I would see them in the prairies dancing with all the Métis women that came before us surrounding them. I would watch them ascend and connect the prairies with the stars. Kishagitin, I love you. I remember you. My teacher, Dr. Cindy Gaudette, told me about 2 years ago that the Métis women in our lives are the most important circle. And I'm embarrassed to say that at the time, I didn't entirely believe her. She told me that men are welcome to sit outside the circle, but the circle is actually made up of the women in our lives. She says that the Métis women are incredible tornadoes that connect the stars with the cosmos to the human world, and that Métis women are actually the ones who are able to enter our own personal, beautiful tornadoes. All this to say that these love stories worked. All along I thought these love stories might bring me some peace in my thoughts around men, but I was wrong. These stories have brought me something even better. They brought me Métis women. They brought me the boundless love that exists between us. And this love makes the world shatter so much so that I can see you, Marie. I can see the stars. I can see the river and the wild Métis ponies that once were. I can see the Métis woman by the river telling love stories. I can feel your presence. And I am beginning to understand how big love can really be. I'm going to keep telling these love stories so that maybe one day my great-granddaughter won't have to go searching. Maybe she'll have these love stories her whole life. I'm hoping that I am the last one who has to go looking for them. You are the center of my being, and I will always have your hair and your hazel eyes. I love you. I remember you. I am here. I'm alive. Love, your great-great-great-granddaughter. September 5th, 2022. Dear Marie, today is the day I've been writing you for the last few years. I'm standing on the edges of the North Saskatchewan River. Every year, I stand here and I write you this letter on this day at this spot. Today is hot. And unlike all the other years I've written you on this day, it does not feel like fall is close. Instead, it feels like summer is going to stick around for quite some time. For the first time in a long time, I'm not traveling for a while. I'm going to spend the next little while here by the river, writing my thesis and finishing up this chapter of my life that has been my master's. I was just diagnosed with PCOS, which is essentially a condition that means my uterus doesn't work properly. I just started a ton of drugs, and I'm probably about to get very sick for a while. I don't believe in coincidences, and I think it's incredibly funny that I'm figuring this out now. I'm still living in the stardust of this summer. My thesis is about all this work. It's all of these Métis love stories. For about 6 years, all the women in my life have been telling me this story isn't about the guy. And I thought they were all full of crap. But they were all right. And I was wrong. For about 6 years, I have written every love story in my life except the one with the guy. I have lived every single love story except the one I was looking for. My life is full, and I am loved, but in all the ways I didn't expect or I couldn't see until now. Marie, I didn't write your love story with the Sun Traveler. I wrote all your other love stories. I wrote your love story with the river and your people. I wrote your love story with the wind. I wrote your love story with the generations after you that you couldn't see, but you certainly could feel. I wrote your love story with the stars. And most of all, I wrote your love story with yourself. And I wrote your love story with me. Marie, these love stories have changed my life. And standing here by the river, I can't help but wonder if you're standing here right beside me. About 4 years ago, I tried to get on the phone with Dr. Brenda McDougall. I was living in Vancouver, and for whatever reason, my phone didn't ring for our phone call. I got an email from her about an hour later saying she tried to call me 10 times and my phone never rang. She was very mad. I got back in touch with her about 2 weeks ago about my PhD. Her research is now the Métis woman who ran Fort Edmonton Park. Some of them happen to be Callahoo women. Marie, she knows exactly who you are. My next chapter is writing all the love stories that aren't focused on men. I can hardly believe I'm saying this, but I am grateful for all the men who came my way during the past 6 years that didn't work out, because all the wrong men led me to all my other love stories. I have love stories with my family and the world around me. I have love stories with the river and with the wind. I have love stories with my friends and all the life-altering work I'm doing. I have love stories with you and with the stars. Marie, I still hope the guy I've been writing for 6 years shows up. But my first love story with a Métis man is my love story with my father. I hope one day I'm able to find a Métis man who is as good as him. Kishagitin. Time and space bends. The wind blows past me. The river runs in the same direction it always has. The horses dance. November 18th, 2022. Dear Marie, I have so much to tell you. Today it's freezing cold and winter is definitely here. In 20 days, I will be the first Indigenous woman to graduate from the University of Alberta's Drama Department with a Master's in Fine Arts. Your love stories have carried me through this journey, and it's pretty much over. Today, I got a phone call from the National Arts Centre. They've programmed Used to Call Me Marie to open on the main stage of the National Arts Centre in Ottawa on June 12, 2024. I will be the first Métis woman to have her show programmed on the main stage of the National Arts Centre in Ottawa. I can hardly believe that I'm actually at this moment in my life. Marie, the funny thing is that after all these plays about love stories, I don't really care much about theater. In fact, I've said no to shows all over the country. I've gotten offers I would have leapt at 2 years ago, and I keep saying no. I spent a lot of time flying around the country, standing on big stages, pretending to be someone else. And somehow I thought that would bring me love, but it hasn't. Instead, what has brought me love is being honest, by being myself, and by listening to you. Marie, in this next chapter, I want to focus my life on being in Métis communities with Métis women. I want to go to all the places you would have been. I want to have the conversations you would have had. And most of all, I want to be in service to our nation and to our people as you would have begun. I'm beginning to understand how time moves so quickly, and I don't want to waste any of it. Now I'm constantly feeling generations collapse between us. I know you are standing right beside me. I love you. I remember you. I am alive. I am here in the place where we always have been. Love, your great, great, great granddaughter, Ty Amy Grauman. Thank you. Good night, you beautiful Michif goddesses.